But the other thing about Afrikaners, they're tough. They're tall. And then they're not sissy. And then they're not scared to fight. And then like Malema would say, no, Afrikaners are not scared of being killed, or we're not scared of being killed by the Boers or the Swag. Afrikaners are not scared of that. Afrikaners are scared of equality.
This podcast series is called Betereinders, Real Talk, and we're talking about real stuff, real people, real friends that can argue in a real way. So the Real Talk, we position it in this wider national movement of dialogue, and officially called Jou Ma Se Dialogue. And we're just happy to humbly serve as part of this dialogue in the country. Trying to do real talk as Afrikaners, Johan, me and you.
Whoa.
Wag.
Like, who are we sponsoring today?
Nee, ek sal nou by die sponsoring kom. Ek wil net sê wie's almal hier. Two Afrikaners, Skalk and Johan, both directors at Betereinders. But then the Xhosa on our stoep, Trevor and Tlola, you're also a Betereinder director. And today we're so lucky to hear about Afrikaners from a different perspective, because we endlessly around the fire talk about who we are, who we want to become, should we be like this, can we be Afrikaners? And it can get septic when there's not fresh perspective. So today I'm very excited, Ntati Trevor, to have you here. When we agree with you, we call you Ntati Trevor.
Yeah,
when we don't agree with you, we like Trevor.
Dr. Ntlola.
Dr. Ntlola. So we're very excited to get a Xhosa or a black perspective about Afrikaners today. And this episode is sponsored by a product. It seems it was named after Parliament. Nut House.
Are we not the ones who are sponsoring it?
Oh yeah, the sponsorship. They're not sponsoring
We
us. We are
support them.
sponsoring
Yes.
them.
We support them.
But it's called Nut House Chocolate Peanuts, and it's local, very local. In fact, here in Pretoria. So a Nut House, very apt title. We're supporting this. We're enjoying this. Excellent chocolate peanuts, hand-picked goodness. En ons sê nie vir hulle dankie nie. We say thank you to ourselves for sponsoring them.
No, I think it's very generous of us.
Very generous.
So, Trevor, you're a doctor, but you're not one of those doctors that does the lost lovers penis enlargements.
No.
I've phoned those
Abortion,
numbers a couple of times, and so you're a real doctor, like a real PhD. And you know how when we don't see our kids grow, like we just see them the whole time, and then somebody from the outside will come in and say, "Yo, he's so big," or his words are more, or whatever. So Trevor's a little bit like that to the Afrikaner. Like he comes in from the outside and he says, "Let me tell you guys a little bit my observations from the outside." So because we are on the inside, it's sometimes difficult for us to see. But the fascinating thing, Trevor, about you is, one, you are very black. Like you're not like coconut cheese boy black. You're like black. But yet you've got this long history with the Afrikaner, one of animosity, but later of partnership. I'm talking way before Betereinders. And you teamed up with the late Minister of Law and Order, Adrian Vlok, who was a very scary guy.
Yeah.
And then you guys went across the country sort of preaching a message of reconciliation and forgiveness. And that to me is fascinating. And you did your PhD on Adrian Vlok and on Afrikaner nationalism. So you've taught me many things about my people, which is kind of annoying, but also such a gift. And I think what we want to unpack today with you is just a couple of things. Like, you've got friends that are Afrikaners. Then you just have citizens that are Afrikaners, as in people that you share this country with that might annoy you, that ask you to put petrol in their car, or and you've studied us. So I wanna start off now. Remember, they talk about the sandwich. You have to give a compliment, criticism, compliment. Otherwise, we can't take it. So
You can't take
so
it. Yeah.
so first compliment.
Say
us.
something nice
Say something
about
nice
us.
about us.
About Afrikaners. One, Afrikaners are human beings.
Jeez,
Wow.
you're really reaching the bottom of the barrel.
We are human. We are
You
not
are-
animals.
They're not animals, they're human beings.
Thank you for that, Trevor.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Trev. Jeez, you know how long I've been waiting for somebody to say that.
Afrikaners, they respond to us as black people. You know, when you don't love, the opposite of love is, as somebody taught me, is not hatred, it's indifference. So the Afrikaners, by hating us as black people, they are saying we exist. Whereas the English and other people, they treat us as if we're not there. And that is more painful. And then as we took the journey with the Afrikaners in the hate and love and eventually we came to a place in 1994 where a group of them went to Dakar and they spoke with us as human beings. So that's the part that I love about Afrikaners, that because hatred is cowardice, it doesn't sustain. After some time, it crumbles. So some prominent Afrikaners, they said, we can't live like this. Let's do something something about this. People like Bersnadier, even
Van Zyl Slabbert.
Van Zyl Slabbert, a friend of mine that really mentored me is an Afrikaner, Alexander Fent. Peter didn't come with a book that in 3 days' time, I think Fenter is a proper Afrikaner. You know, I wrote a book in honor of him. So, okay, let me finish with this one. Then you have I call it because in my culture you can't just call an elderly person in his first name. Flock, Andrian Flock. Yes, that one. Flock, Andrian Flock. Him and I. Before, let me preface this by saying, I know who he was. He was in the black community in the 80s. We're not scared of or intimidated by PW or a lot of Afrikaners, but we're scared of the name
Flock.
Andrian Flock.
It also,
yes.
Without the L, if you say it quickly, it sounds pretty scary.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No comment. Yeah. It's like Himmler in Germany. You know, I know people are scared of Hitler, but Himmler was like, you know, he'll be the one who put you in. So, and then any black person who associates himself with a Flock, he must be pimp, he must be sellout and all that. So I know. But the reason I end up doing my journey with him around the country was purely because of my Christian conviction, which I'm not ashamed, I'm not embarrassed, because it transformed and changed my heart. So it was easy. Many years later, I think if I had met Flock in my 20s, I would have said no to God. But many years later, in my 40s, that's when I met Andrian Flock. It was at the airport. And then I can talk about that later. And then it came to a point where we became friends. Yes, friends, yeah.
So Trevor, I'm nervous what you're going to say, what you don't like about us, because if that's what you like about us,
there's about 5 of us.
But also, let me say, you guys are tough.
We hate you guys. At least thank you for hating us and not being indifferent. Like,
Yeah.
It's a pleasure, Trevor. Like, I mean, we do what we can.
We acknowledge you by
hating you. Yes. Yeah, but you know what? I don't feel like you guys are grateful enough for the fact that we hate you. I mean, we spend the time to hate you. Come on, man. No, but I remember one thing that you told me way back is like, whilst you were doing your studies and reading up about Afrikaner nationalism, you would on the one hand be like so inspired by these guys and then so angry at these guys. Can you maybe just elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, one of the prerequisites to do my dissertation on Flock was that I need to read, my supervisor said, you need to, because Flock was like a super or proper Afrikaner. So he said, Trevor, you need to read the history of Afrikaans. So I had to read, what is this?
Herman Gilmer.
Yeah. You see, I struggle even to pronounce. And then as I read the history of the Afrikaners, okay, I must tell you this before this. I walked into this University of Pretoria. So I went to, I think it's the third floor, the library. So I said I would like to, the section of I work to know the books that are written about Afrikaners. And this big Tani, I love her. She said, what do you want to know about Afrikaners? I just love that. She says, there are two types of Afrikaners with a booming voice.
Oh.
One's from Kaap in Cape Town. And they are inland Transvaal Africans. They are not the same, but they're both of them Afrikaners. Which one? So I didn't know. I was confused.
I hope you picked the real Afrikaners.
Yes.
No,
Which is obviously not the ones from
So
the
what
Cape.
we say about the Cape people is that they were regarded as
betrayers.
medically unfit to join the Great Trek. That's why they stayed behind.
Yeah.
So, and that gene pool has just continued, and that's why the Cape looks the way it does.
Half of us is there now.
I know.
Oh, they went back.
I know. We're going back.
Guys. So the more I read about the Afrikaners, the more I got fascinated. And then they stood up against the English. That's the part that I loved. And then so I went through this emotional up and down, and there was this part where one of the reasons, at least from what I've read, that they were not happy. The reason they left Cape because they couldn't have slaves when the British Empire.
You like this part?
No, I was like, why?
Which, by the way, is not in our Great Trek mythology.
Yeah.
Like if you think of the
No,
motivation,
even now I'm going to argue about it.
the
Yeah,
motivating,
but this is
the
what
motivating factors of the Great Trek. Like it was this beautiful thing. It was God's people
Yeah.
We were
carrying
on a
the
mission.
gospel
Yeah.
It was
And then
like
at
into the
night,
hinterland. Meanwhile, we wanted
at
our
night
slaves.
they would, in this lacher, they would read the Bible, and they would see themselves as the Israelites going inland to conquer the Amalekites and all that. This is what I read. But the other thing which I spoke with Johan and I was like, what great about the Great Trek as a black person? Because I read about that and I'm going like, they call it a Great Trek. So even today, I have not found the answers, but these are other
Have you ever tried going down the Drakensberg barefoot with the ox wagon? It's very great.
Especially in those days. Yeah, maybe that's one of the answers. But the other thing about Afrikaners, they're tough. They're tall. And they're not sissy. They're real
They're not stubborn.
Yeah,
Tough.
yeah, they're tough. And then they're not scared to fight. And then, like Malema would say, no, Afrikaners are not scared of being killed, we are not scared of being killed by the Boers or the Sog. Afrikaners are not scared of that. Afrikaners are scared of equality. That's what he would say. Yeah. So there's a lot of things about Afrikaners, and then the other thing is that when they stood against the British, I just love that part. Even who's this famous?
Delaray.
No, the English guy who
Rhodes.
not from England, who end
Kirchner?
up being a president or prime minister in UK. The famous one they write about.
Oh,
him.
Winston Churchill.
Yeah. There was a time where he was here in South Africa, and then they give him a good hiding by the Afrikaners, and then he ran away and that. So when you read stuff like that,
You're proud of us.
Yeah, of course, because after all, your name is Afrikaners. They are the only tribe or group in the continent that are named after the continent.
Yeah, because we have to.
Yeah. But you guys are also hypocritical.
Okay, so let's get there.
Yeah.
What do you not like about us then?
Yeah,
really
I was
dig,
about to
like,
say
there must
that.
be
And then you
something.
call, and then you say yourself Europeans only, and then you write it everywhere.
But
And
we
it's
call
like-
So we call ourselves
Afrikaner, but
Afrikaners and then Europeans.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh no. Yeah, and then you as I said, you hated us because you are black. That's all, not because we did anything to you. And then you just bully us. My family, at least myself, was born in Churchgoch, which is not far from downtown Johannesburg, and you dumped us in Soweto.
we moved you.
Yeah, not move me. You dumped me.
Yeah, but we dumped you from one place to the other.
Exactly.
That's
So when you
moved.
say move, it's nice, it's sanitized, but dumping is, You know, he dumped us. Yeah, like people in Gaza, you know, and all that. And then that experiment, you have a nice way it is called, and that's what I like about Afrikaner. They have a label and a name and a tag, so you can even hold this called apartheid.
Clear, we're honest.
Yeah, whereas other countries they call it racism, they call it this. But in South Africa, yes, it's discrimination. Yes, it's apartheid. It's racism. It's discriminatory. But in South Africa, it's got a name. It's called apartheid. And now it's globalized.
Do you think we still like apartheid, or do you think we're done with that now?
I think you.
I mean,
love
not apartheid as the system. I mean, partners.
I think you love it. I think Afrikaners love it. The other thing I don't like about Afrikaners, they patronize. Not like the English, and let's not even compare. They say you are the only black person that is. You're not like the other kaffers, you know.
Actually, you're not, eh? You're a good one.
He said patronize, but it's patronize.
Yeah. It's you pronounce it patronize.
He's trying to be.
You see, even that, you know. And then I can go on and on, and then but I need to say, and then probably maybe you'll feel patronized. When I was 20 years, I was expelled from the Bible college, which maybe later when it's relevant to talk about it. But the people who took me to school, to university, was an Afrikaner. His name is Alexander Fenter. He literally put me in the car and we drove from Soweto to UNISA. My first time at the university, paid for my studies. At that time, it might not have seen as a significant, but in retrospect, in the context of
what year was that?
It was 1990. Yeah, and then for the first time, I was at in a space of a higher educational institution where majority, especially of my generation, would not have an access, because my generation was called I'll just remember this word, but it's like we lost generation, because for a number of years there was a disruption in the township. They would be schooling for 2 months and it was disrupted and all that. So I couldn't finish my matric. So I had to finish correspondingly, and then because I loved education, but my generation, people of my age, majority of them, they were in exile. They couldn't go to school. They're imprisoned, you know, and all of that. So here's an Afrikaner who comes in my life and who believed in me, Alexander Fenter, paid for my studies, not only paid for my studies, mentored me all the way to this day. As I'm talking here, we are friends. So there's no way that hatred can conquer love. So eventually, my anger, my hatred, the very thing that hurts you is the very thing that needs to heal you. So you can't be hurt by a woman and expect to be healed by a man. Another woman must come and do that healing. So that's what happened. So many black people need Afrikaners. Yes, to. So when I came and meet you, it was because many Afrikaners, or a number of Afrikaners, have done a work in my heart. And I want to say, both of you, you are blessed. If you had found me when I was I was angry, I was bitter, I was arrogant, you know, interestingly, same way like Africans are arrogant. And another thing that I don't like about Africans, they're arrogant. They just think people are special. And then when you have a PhD, I mean, I will tell you one incident. I remember someone was announcing, he said, in the church, it was a white church, he said, guys, do you know that Trevor's got a PhD? And I was shocked. At that time, it was not a PhD, it was an honors or master's. And I thought if I was white, it wouldn't make any issue. Yeah, so there is this stinky, arrogant, and I thank you for allowing me. How many black people are given a chance to be interviewed to say whatever they want to say about the Afrikaners, you know? But it's an honor.
So the question is whether you're going to make it out
here or not. Yeah.
So when you're talking about Afrikaner, do you have like a gap, like Afrikaners used to be like that? in the old days, and now Afrikaner is something different. Because what I think I'm hearing, the way you're speaking, I don't know if it's just the tenses.
Yeah.
It's like we haven't really changed that much in your perception. There's obviously these individuals that's different.
Yes.
But as a whole,
Yeah.
your experience and perceptions of Afrikaners, do you see like two types of Afrikaner before 94 and after 94? Is it, or are we kind of still in our hearts the same thing?
I think I like your question. I think human beings are very interesting, let alone Africans, just human in general, and they can adapt depending on the situation. Now that is in the new South Africa, 2025. Those Afrikaners that were lull or they just came out, and we see them going represented by those guys who went to Donald Trump. So for me, and even for me, when I saw those Afrikaners going there, I was shocked, and I realized, wow, they proved our prejudice. That these people, they really hate us. And you have a few who like Alexander. I don't want to say like you because you will think but I really believe that you guys,
we are fake.
You've been to my house. Johanna's been, I've been to Mtonjeni and play with our kids, talk with our kids. We've done a lot of stuff with you. And then even the way you joke with us and do a lot of stuff. I've been into your house. My niece was in your house about 2 weeks ago, and I didn't have to warn him to say, hey, listen, they're going to give you food with a cup of, And she came back. You might trivialize and laugh at it, but many Afrikaners. Yeah, I want to. In fact, I would like to talk about white people in general because I think many of them we live in off the hook. But going back to the Afrikaners, many of them they still don't see us as human beings. So to answer a question, many Afrikaners they're still arrogant. They still, there's a sort of way to say go hotella. The English word is yeah, I'll remember that. So basically, it is that, and then you have few of those. They are full of Ubuntu, humanity. Like personally, I had a privilege to meet him, and then I was shocked the way he carried himself across. Yeah. So definitely there are two kinds of Afrikaners.
So what can we do better?
I think you must
not history. Talking to me now, 2025.
Yeah, many Afrikaners they go to church. Be Christians, just be Christians, not for yourself, for the sake of this country, because you claim you're Christians. Don't mind that you do something else. These farmers, all of these people, and you go to church. You even name streets, Kirk Street.
Yeah, and you change the name. Come on.
Yeah, that's better than Winnie Mandela Street. Maybe
I'm being simplistic, but be Christians.
You're always preaching at us, ne?
Yeah.
So I just want to quickly check in with you. You were radical, you were in Soweto, but you are one of the most serious Christians I know. So
what do you mean?
In your you are very confident. You are not ashamed to say, I'm doing this as a Christian. What do you say to your black friends that tell you, listen, you are a fool. This is a white man's religion. When they came and conquered us, they brought this Christianity. Why are you following the white man's faith? What's your answer to that as a proud black man?
Yeah.
Are you having a white faith or
no?
Are you a sellout?
I just show them that they are ignorant. They don't study. They must go and study. If before I talk about the spiritual, I say go and read the history of Christianity. Before it went to Europe, it started here in Africa. When Jesus Christ was crucified, the guy who came and helped him was an African guy. The Book of Acts, the Ethiopian Candace, the one who was helping who was Minister of Finance in Ethiopia. Who became a Christian eventually, was an African guy. So before we even
probably from Sudan.
Yeah. So before Ethiopia, it says Ethiopia. He doesn't know his church history.
No.
So the leaders of Saint Augustine, which I like this. Saint Augustine was an African, and the Europeans
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's from Hippo. Hippo is in Africa.
Did you eat the hippo?
Yeah, is a town in. So
Libya.
all of these church, all of these Christian leaders, most of them they come from Saint Jerome, and a number of them they come from the some of
Northern
those
Africa.
Northern Africa. So it's Africa. So I just say to them,
And
they
I mean,
must
the
just,
original story is Middle Eastern, right? So
yeah, but some of the Middle Eastern is African, like
But
Egypt.
we managed to take it,
Yeah.
ne?
Sorry.
We managed to take it. We made Christianity white.
Yeah, then you I call it, you perverted it and then make it Afrikaners. And some people, they call it the Portuguese Christian Church or whatever, and when actually shouldn't, like I remember driving and I saw this car is written the Portuguese Baptist Church. And I say, you see now you make Christian to be Portuguese. And Afrikaners, they've made it Christian. They made it, they all of da. I think the way it was in Palestine, we just take the values and contextualize them. So Afrikaners, they're supposed, after being Christian, supposed to be Africans, Ubuntu, and not be scared, because Christians are not supposed to be scared.
what would you say 2025 has done to race relations?
Even to yours.
Yeah, I think it exposed the cracks that have been there, that we've plastered them for many years. And I thank God for Donald Trump, who just unveiled what has been there. And then now we see who we really are, even as the blacks, because this project of reconciliation, miracle, yes, there is a miracle. But you can't just live on a miracle. Miracle needs to be augmented. You need to work with it. So I think we left it as a black people, also maybe as a white people. But I think as a black people, we because of poverty, we went into money and all that, and then at some inevitably we became corrupt. There's nothing wrong about power, I think, but power doesn't corrupt. I don't believe power corrupt. I think power exposes the corruption that is already there. Yeah.
So the one thing that you do, Baba, that's interesting is you've got a few things to say about whites and Afrikaners and especially the English and whatnot. But if I may, just to take the conversation in a different direction, what is it that annoys you about your own people?
Do you want me to say that? Sure, I
Johannes
can't say that in the middle of
Johannes
Pretoria. I
asking,
won't
what's
make
wrong
it
with
home.
what is wrong with Hamas?
With what?
I'm just joking. It's like
Hamas,
someone always wants to know, but what's wrong with Hamas?
No.
I mean, because you were alluding to it now. Like you were talking about
I agree.
the poverty and
the thing about...
Or maybe we can reframe it and just ask, what do you think... is there anything at all where there's maybe a bit of sympathy towards... I know you've been triggered by a lot of the Afrikaner stuff, and I mean, the two of us, Betereinders, we've been trying to expose a lot of the opportunism there. But there's always, very seldom something is just a lie. There's always a bit of truth somewhere. So is there something that, some places where you are more sympathetic towards the white cause or the Afrikaner cause?
Yeah. Apartheid made us to unite against this thing that oppresses us, that kills us. So slowly as it cracks and it disappears, of course there is a legacy of apartheid. But now that apartheid as an institution, as a governance or misgovernance is no longer there. Who we are as black people, you realize that the brokenness, the pain, one of them is that the black families, that one, it makes me emotional. My father was not there in my life. So it is with many, 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 many black families. Yes, we can blame apartheid, but then 30 years later, you see the brokenness is there. And you can't blame apartheid, or maybe you can say the legacies, but majority is not because of the apartheid and legacies of apartheid. It's us. The other.
Can I just interject there?
Yeah.
It's interesting because we didn't mention it in the previous episode, and it needs a lot of unpacking, and this is not going to do it justice. But off air, you said that if we want to talk about a safe South Africa, if we want to talk about farm murders and just being safe, then those are some of the things that we need to address, like fatherlessness, stuff like that.
Yeah, a number of years I was preaching in KZN. The audience was, I think, 80% white. I said, you white fathers, you must come and help, because it is a Christian church. You must come and help us to be fathers in a black community. In our culture, you don't need to be a biological father to be a father. Yeah. So you guys, especially Afrikaners are not like English fathers who are nice. First of all, you don't call your children, won't say skulk. They say, pa or
Tani.
In the same. So another thing, just to finish off, that's painful to be fatherless. I don't know how much you know about Julius Malema. Yes, we see him as a political creature, but if you go deep and find out who is Malema, there was no father there. So there are a lot of us. Another thing that it's a corruption. I don't care whether we don't have to compare to say, apartheid also was an embodiment or epitome of the perfect corruption. We don't have to compare, but the corruption that is there in the black community, because especially since we take over, it's embarrassing. Even now, the ANC have agreed. There was a time there was in denial and all that. And then it's not only in the ANC. It's just, it's like across the board. Yeah. The other thing that I'm trying. Yeah, like Johan and I, when we drive, we see the littering in the black community. And then about a month or so, I was in Northern Cape. And then the place there, it's run by ANC. It's clean. So you can't say it's because ANC is dirty. So it boils down to us as
maybe they were too poor to have litter.
Yeah. Well, I don't think so.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah. So those are the things that would embarrass me, and then But that makes me who I am.
But that's interesting because like that kind of introspection.
Yeah.
It just invites me to it's stupid that invites me to be open about our Afrikaner brokenness and whatnot. But it is such a because if we talk about the stereotypes and if we talk about the Afrikaners, the one thing that came out, and it actually caught me by surprise as well, is that I think a lot of us thought that we knew that the Afrikaner is a work in progress, right? But I wasn't as aware of the fact that the end result and what some of the more conservative guys want is it really is a homeland. It really is apartness. And that caught me off guard because it's almost as if those true colors came out a little bit now with the last 6 months and the discussion in America that the only sustainable future is to be apart.
It's still a dream to be. We'll cut our own grass, but there's still a dream to be apart.
So
from
apartheid
others.
was wrong because we used black labor and whatever. But the concept of being apart and we can have good diplomatic relations with the black tribes. But you always say langs mekaar, nie tussen mekaar nie, next to each other, but not in between each other.
This year we saw that is still a very big dream.
Yeah.
Whether it's one place in the Northern Cape or whether it's 30 towns or whatever. I'm more of a racist than Johan because he's enjoying that a black man is saying bad things about black people. Like, we should stop littering, we are so corrupt. Like, we want you to say that because then it makes him feel good. Well, I don't need you to say how bad black people is. I know how bad black people are. So I don't need to hear from Trevor, oh, black people are corrupt. I can see it every day. So I have no appetite for any black friend to tell me what's wrong with black people, what you should improve from the 30%, what. I know exactly what's wrong with black people. So I don't have a desire. That doesn't make me happy, but I'm teasing you. But what I can say is I am never in a conversation with white people where we talk about what's wrong with us Afrikaners, that we should improve, without hearing, ja, maar wat van hulle? Ja, but what about them? And it irritates me. But it is maybe a good pragmatism, because it seems my tribe cannot do introspection, fix ourselves, without hearing every hour like a cuckoo clock, we are black, we also have problems, we are black, we're also bad, we will stop corruption, we'll stop crime, then we'll do work on ourselves. But what about them? I don't live a week in South Africa not hearing, but what about them? So I don't care about them, because I know. What I want to ask you is, for me, the black government, I'm talking into the Afrikaner view. The black government is useless, and sorry for Steenhuisen and whoever this there, because they still get viewed like that. It's useless, but then a level higher than uselessness is corrupt. But then you used to hide your corruption or whatever, or you get caught, like Zondo, whatever. But now there's this thing in our country of mafia, where to cover the corruption, you go to jail or say sorry or lose your job even, you just start killing people. Like this week, there was someone killed, that Babita. Now our country has moved from uselessness to corrupt to mafia, where we have just killed to hide our theft. So I don't get how black people tolerate that. The side of black people I know of Ubuntu, respect for each other. This progression, and maybe you'll argue and say there's no corruption or there's no uselessness, but this level of mafia, where there's organized crime, taking out the whistleblowers, I am interested to hear how come black South Africans are tolerating that. That's the one I don't get.
Skalk, I wouldn't say, as a black person who grew up under apartheid, I wouldn't say totally the government is useless, because I lived under the government that was useless for me.
Yes.
That is apartheid. And then when that government, the new government, took over, and that government, when it took over, it started being a government of national unity. It was not ANC. It had de Klerk. It has Rolf Stoep was a minister of. So when we introduced to democracy, it was not just ANC. It was a government that was mixed. So,
and I mean, many people would say, I've heard this from white people who would just say that it was the Trevor Manuels and the Thabo Mbekis who got us out of the economic trouble that we were in the early 90s.
I'm happy all along. I'm talking Zuma.
No, I'm coming
from Zuma.
I'm coming to that. So I'm just saying, it would be unfair for me to say the government is unfair when there was a time where I was not treated as a human being.
So we were the most useless.
Yes.
Now, but I'm not asking about the uselessness. I'm asking about these levels of that point.
So I don't think majority of us as a black people, we agree with the corruption, with this mafia thing. It's just pockets of them there and there, and those people hide themselves. And then the issue that we are not happy is that the government, it doesn't seems like doesn't have a political will to stem up against those people, because those people who are doing that, those corruption, the mafia, they can only do that because they have political connections with those. So it's basically is not endorsed by a majority of the black people.
Think MK can take out that mafia?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
So listen, I mean, you're now derailing big time because now it's just becoming a political blah, blah, blah. For me, I am personally not very interested in the macro discussions about politics and different parties.
Interested? It's the first time I hear that.
No. I mean, in terms of party politics and who needs to move.
Unless you switch on the light and there's no power.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But from what I can do as somebody who's sort of at this low level of civic society and passionate about this country and passionate about its people, I'm trying to do small things, and I think it is ridiculously small. And what I have found is that by and large, I am welcomed, I am accepted, I am enjoyed. Like I really don't feel like black people hate me. We are in townships a lot, and then you compliment us and thanks for that. Like I'm in your house and blah blah blah, and then I think, geez, it really is easy. Then it's really not difficult. If I'm one of the good guys, then it's really not difficult to be part of the solution, right? So there must be some sort of invitation. We can just tell the Afrikaners, you are useless, you are racist, you're this, or there can be an invitation to come and be part of this and do this. Yeah. Like what is that?
I just remembered of my niece who came to her house. She has never been into Afrikaner house. And when she came back, I wish you were, because his eyes like, oh, Trevor. But when she came back, she said, I didn't feel like I was in a White House, a special White House. She felt at home, And then he said there was noisy, children were running around. And that's how we live as black people, And she said
she's living like a black person. Thanks for putting that on the record, by the way.
She felt like that. And then I remember this guy who did this organization in Mamelodi, the Afrikaner, who would exchange people. Nico Smith.
Yes.
I did that thing and then we take Afrikaners or white people to Soweto, and I was part of that. And I think if maybe us as Betereinders, if we can start that, where we would say you go to Soweto Friday because we need to do during the weekend or during holidays. For 3 days, and then we exchange the township and the suburb, and you let it go and see what will happen, because it's amazing. Without these talks, without speeches and all that, something happens, and then when people come back, they are no longer the same. So I agree with you. We need to invite people. Go to you've been to the township. You play soccer and all that, but now even go deeper, spend a weekend, And
houses, I love it, because I think that's very practical. What we've learned. No, going into each other's houses. I mean, you've been in our houses since forever, doing the dishes and stuff, but going into each other's houses as equals.
Yeah.
I think it's
because you meet a really human being. Because you see them when they fart, then you realize, oh, white people also fart, and it stinks worse than people who are poor, because it's not. Yeah. Well, sorry.
But I
is that what your niece said? Just the feedback you got.
John's fart smell worse. But that is so practical, and I just want to say, as Betereinders, we talk about everything.
Exactly.
Murder, this, that. Yeah. But then at the end, if we can be this practical. Visit your house, visit my house, sleep over, don't fix the world, just be human. They'll say, but it should happen naturally or it's artificial, but
it doesn't.
The start can be artificial to make it happen. It might feel weird, but then it becomes normal.
Yeah. I need to tell you this before we...
Yes.
In 1930s, Johannesburg was built in 1886. And then in the early 1900s, the Afrikaners started to move in Johannesburg. And when you read the history, it was dirty. The Afrikaners were dirty and the English. And it's only when as they built, and they had this poor, lazy Afrikaners, they said, you going to work in the railway. You're going to work in the post office. They have affirmative actions. And slowly, the white people became sanitized and nice and because they always compare themselves with English. And they think we don't know. And then now they're making issue about us that you black people are lazy and that. And we are lazy. And then you are the one who asking us come and clean your house. Wow. We carry our children on our back.
What's interesting?
This nice vintage Trevor and
So we want to say, shut up
to my kids.
Yeah? You want to say, shut up. Even to this day, 2025, we still clean your house. Don't let me preach. Sorry.
I just want to say to the camera, this weekend, Betereinders, we are going to clean Trevor's house. Cut his grass.
But what's,
I'm done.
What's interesting? What's interesting is that the English newspapers, if you look at the 50s, 60s, complained a lot about the Afrikaner affirmative action. So they were like very upset and speaking out against that. So that is a little bit of a forgotten part of our history. But Trevor, I think it seems to me, and this is very much the Betereinders philosophy, is that relationships are the solution, to a large extent at least. So maybe, I know you're a hopeful guy. I know a lot of your black friends are less hopeful, and they call you like a sellout or a booty or something like that. But you have hope.
Yeah.
Like, why? Are you telling him or asking him?
Yeah, I learned. I think it was Bishop Tutu or someone who said there's a difference between optimism and hope. Optimism is based on if Donald Trump can send their people when he comes in November to come and take the chairmanship of what's this? G20, and then hopefully they will inject our economy, and then that's optimism. It's based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we come from a history as black people where there was no optimism. It was mudimuteng. That is in Sotho, but there is God. So hope is not optimism. It's not based on 1, 2. It's based purely on God. We knew. I don't know how, but we knew. We were told that Siya Epito, remember that song? We prayed and we believed that one day we'll get our freedom. Because of that, I still believe this country with you and I, not only leave it to God, but when we allow God, as we are doing like this, those little, like Jesus talked about the yeast, the seed. Jesus uses simple things. So when we take stuff like that and activate them, and like children, go and do them like you are doing. I mean, you take guys and you let's talk, and then go to places, and you don't want the big media and all that. And I believe so. Because of that, I have hope, and then this hope is not just because it's today. So it in 1994. Can I tell you a story and then I close? You know, black people love stories. 1991, I was at the Heathrow. I was young. I was at the Heathrow airport coming back from Sweden. So I'm sitting there waiting for my plane, and the next thing, there's this lady, an African lady. She comes to me. She says, "I'm sorry. I just want to ask you something. I don't know you, and then you don't know me. Are you a South African?" I said, "Yes." And then she jumped. That was 1990. No, 1990. Anyway, before 94, she jumped. She said, "Listen, I left home 1964 with a Chris Hani platoon or group to go to Russia and other parts of to go and train to liberate South Africa." He said, after a number of years, we just gave up because apartheid was powerful, was supported by the Western world and So we just went our way and I got married to so and I ended up in Germany she got this qualification. She said, "We've forgotten about South Africa, we as a black people." Until 1976, when for the first time we hear about young people in South Africa and Soweto rising up. And we started. And then she says, this is the first time in 1990s to come back home. He said, "There's something that told me that you're a South African." And we started speaking Zulu and Sotho and then she said, "You, young people of South Africa, you liberated the country, not the ANC, not all of that." And I just want to say, I thank you. When I listen to that, as I'm telling that story, all I'm saying that there is hope from these young people in 1976, somewhere in the backyard of Soweto, when the whole world had forgotten the Mandelas are in exile, they're in Robben Island prison, other leaders, Oliver Tambo is in exile. And these young people, on Wednesday, 16th of June, 1976, they just march and say, "We're not going to do this thing called Afrikaans." And that was a big crack on this thing called apartheid. And then the rest was history. So I'm saying hope, it comes from somewhere where we couldn't even imagine. It was not ANC with its might or with its political machinery or whatever that, they did what they did in their corners, which we need to honor that. But the young people, of course, they were older than me, but the young people in 1976, they were a symbol of hope that they are not going to die. They're not going to allow this apartheid to continue. So for me, that's a difference between a hope and so I'm hopeful. And after all, I'm a Christian.
I love how June 16, which is a date that we're supposed to be shy of and uncomfortable. I've never seen a church celebrate June 16, by the way. But what I love as your friend, that tragic day, that hopeful day, I'm appropriating that for Betereinders.
Which friend?
Thinking small people, nobodies, they made a difference in the history of our country, because some guy made a podcast just to explain how small is Betereinders for 7 people on Twitter, 5 on Facebook, like how useless and small we are.
Yeah.
And I like your story because we say we are poep teen donne weer.
Yeah.
And I like the idea to say, okay, we're useless, we don't know anything, but the hope,
that's a mystery about Christianity.
The hope is there, and as long as it's 1 or 2 people, and maybe there's younger ones than us. I love the idea that against the facts and against the momentum, against the powerful,
which is a story of
there
Christianity.
can be hope of 3 friends.
Yeah. It's a story of Christianity when it cracked the Roman Empire. These few people who are nobodies, and yet they felt an impact. 2,000 years later, we're still talking about those people who impacted our life, but there were very few.
Thanks, Trev. Thanks, Kolk. And this is now
You see, I love Afrikaners.
Real talk,
episode 3 of our Yamasa dialogue. And look, we are Betereinders. We're also making this up as we go, and to a certain extent. Like, we don't have the answers. We're also wrestling with it. But the one thing that we know is that we love this country. We also know that I'm an Afrikaner, you're an Afrikaner. There's nothing that we can do about that. We celebrate it.
And you're not going to
And
America.
we're not going anywhere. And you're a Xhosa, and we want to...
More important, we're going to you. It's not about going to America or not. It's the question is, are we ever going to go to Trevor or not? That's the big question. Are we going to do this track?
Yeah, and vice versa.
That's the big question. And I think that's what Betereinders stubbornly. We don't know what we're doing, but we do know we want to do it with you.
Yeah.
And we do know that whatever the solution is, it's in relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's end on that. Thanks, Ntate.
Hoi hoi.
And thanks for Natal's peanut butter chocolates, which we didn't eat.
Yeah.
But apparently it's
Well,
really
thanks
good.
to us for supporting them. I think it's very good, nice
Thanks
of
for
us.
them to allow us to support them without knowing about it.